Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. This time I'd like to introduce the Board of Trustees. On my left, your right. On the far end, Trustee Dick Whitenack. Next to me is Trustee Dick Labar. On my right, Trustee Dan Rittenhouse and Trustee Robin Humphrey. Now, Mayor Pete Vogt. Public hearing on water and sewer rate increases. Village of Dansville Board of Trustees will hold a public hearing at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, July 28, 2015, in the Genesee Community College building, former Dansville Middle School auditorium. That has obviously been changed due to the weather. 31 Clara Barton Street. The purpose of the meeting is to receive public comment only on a proposed resolution to increase water changes, rates, and on local law to amend local law 382, that's sewer, to increase sewer changes and rates, charges and rates. Okay, an elevator is available for the physically challenged. Persons wishing to make comments will be required to sign up at the door prior to the meeting. Persons having comments but not wishing to speak may present them in written form to the village clerk not later than 5 p.m. on Friday, July 31st. Information concerning the increase will be presented at a separate hearing to be held at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, July 14th, 2015, that was a couple weeks ago, in the Genesee Community College building auditorium. The proposed increases are as follows. Again, proposed increases. In the village, from the current quarter rate charge of 72% and usage rate of $3 per thousand to a base rate of $88 and usage rate of $3.50 per thousand gallons. Outside the village, from the current base rate of $88 and usage rate of $3.50 per thousand gallons to a base rate of $104 and usage rate of $4 per thousand gallons. On the sewer, in the village, from the current charge of $65 and usage rate of $3 per thousand gallons to a base charge of $90 and a usage rate of $3.50 per thousand. Outside the village, from the current base rate of $80 and usage rate of $3.50 per thousand gallons to a base rate of $105 and a usage rate of $4 per thousand gallons. Signed, Megan Aldridge, Village Clerk. Before we begin, there are some rules I'd like to address. If you have not done so already and you wish to speak, you need to sign in. See the clerk in the back, and she'll put you on the list. Please come to the podium over here on my right, next to the flag, to speak. Individuals will have 3 to 5 minutes, and right now it doesn't look like we have a lot of speakers, so we'll give you the 5 minutes to speak on the facts of the issue of the rate increase only. Please do not digress or use long analogies and anecdotes. Questions will not be answered during the hearing. They will be responded to during the special board meeting that we will be setting up after I get done reading the rules. Direct all comments and questions to the board, not specific individuals on the board or any member of the public. Board members may interrupt the speaker to seek clarification of comments, but otherwise will keep their questions until the end of the speaker's presentation. No one in the public will interrupt, comment on, or ask questions of the speaker. There will be no debate. Speakers must observe the commonly accepted rules of courtesy, decorum, dignity, and good taste. No name calling, accusatory remarks, profanity, or crude gestures, etc. At this time, I would ask the board if they have a particular date that they would like to have the special meeting on. I had suggested next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Does that work?
That works for me.
Dan?
Check and make sure I'm not late.
Fine with me. Everybody except Trustee Rittenhouse.
I'm good.
Okay. 6 o'clock then?
Okay.
Board will meet next week on Tuesday, to discuss the topic, rate increases, and probably make a decision that night. The meeting is open to the public, so you may come. Any questions that come up this evening, I'll be more than happy to answer that night. Okay. 6 o'clock? 6, yes.
Location?
Here? Yes, we'll be in this room right here.
Tuesday, August 4th.
I would like to answer a couple questions, or several questions that came up during the public information meeting last time around. One is the shut-off process. There was comment made about the village evicting people from their homes. Number one, the village does not evict anybody from their home because they haven't paid their water bill. There is a process by which we notify you as to what your bill is. You have 30 days after that point to pay that bill, and if not within the 30 days, then you are given an additional time, but with a fee attached with it, a 10% fee. After the end of the quarter, if you have not paid, then your water will be shut off. Now, if you live in a rented space, yes, by state law, you can be evicted from there because you are required by state law to have running water. So it is not that we just evict you within 24 hours. There's a process. The state requires that nobody occupy a residence until such time as you have full water in there. Yes. I'd also note that you can pay your bill in increments if you wish. As long as you are paying, we won't shut your water off.
With a 10% increase in the light charge.
No, we did away with that. Excuse me, there are no questions or statements unless you're going to be speaking. Okay, I am simply answering questions that were asked at the last meeting. I've stated the rules. I would appreciate it if you'd abide by them. Thank you. Okay. Also, fund balance was mentioned. We moved fund balance into the general fund. That was done on the recommendation of our bookkeeper and by our auditor. And, you know, I've got the paperwork right here. This goes back about 15, 20 years now on this fund balance problem. I would go back to the 2010 state audit. It reads as follows. General municipal law provides the legal conditions under which all inter-fund advances are made and requires that repayment be made as soon as monies are available, but no later than the close of the fiscal year in which the advance was made. During that audit, we found that the clerk treasurer made inter-fund advances over the years to provide the cash required to maintain village general, water, and sewer services. However, these advances were not authorized by the board, not properly accounted for, and could not be repaid because the general, sewer, and capital funds did not have sufficient cash balances. I'll read a little bit further. Found that the village general fund has not been cash solvent since 2006-07, when the tax rate was reduced. In addition, although the general fund had $282,006 fund balance as of May 31st, 2006. Its primary asset was an inter-fund receivable of $407,075 owed by the sewer fund. Given the cash position of the sewer fund, it is unlikely that sufficient funds will be available to repay the general fund in the near future. Likewise, given the cash position of the general and capital projects, their inter-fund payables are likely to be uncollectible in the near term, which will further weaken the financial position of the water fund, which made those loans. Those loans amount to 70% of the water fund's $433,553 fund balance. It goes on to say, in the initial step to regain financial stability in the sewer fund, village officials have increased sewer rates. and have thus reported operating surpluses for the last 2 years. However, even with the increases in rates, it will take the sewer fund over 5 years to pay back its existing interfund payable. To the extent that village officials have sufficient cash to cover operations and avoid the need for additional interfund balances, they should use remaining available cash to eliminate the existing interfund payables as quickly as possible. And that's what we did, based on what our bookkeeper and our auditors told us. So I can go back and note the records on that were not very good, but this is what they were able to determine going back to 2000 using numbers they got from the state. Okay, at this time I'll call on the first speaker, who is Bill Shaver. Bill? I want to make sure that the mic is on there. Thank you. Bill.
Okay. I would like to know, this increase is going to help, going to hurt every business, landlords.
Hold on, Bill.
Step a little closer.
Is it on? Or should it be pushed up?
Yeah, it's on.
It is?
It's on. You got to step closer.
Oh, a little closer? Okay. All right. This water increase is going to hurt every landlord, every business, and Section 8, and we're not going to get any more new businesses coming in here. We're going to lose out in the long run. Is there any way we could have a smaller increase?
I can answer that real quickly, Bill. I said I wouldn't answer a lot of questions with that when I can.
Okay?
The numbers, as I said, are proposed.
Yeah.
The board will take a look at the numbers and possibly reduce them or leave them alone. I don't know. That will be a majority decision here by the board. It'll be done next Tuesday.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
I know.
Mr. Kirk Walker.
On May 13th, the village board had a meeting in reference to the situation that we're facing. They want to take $449,363 from the water, sewer, and water treatment plant fund and put it in the general fund. Mr. Labar, who is the deputy mayor, asked a very common sense question. And his question is, can we prove that the money is owed to the general fund? Good question. And the answer was no. So the $449,000, the next question is it existing money? Is it real money or is it paper money? Is it in a account someplace? The board was told that it's real money. Now, again, Mr. Labar said, and I'm paraphrasing, we have no supporting data, no supporting documents to even prove that we need to move this money to the general fund. Mr. Rittenhouse also, I think, brought up a good point when he said, in other words, we can't prove anything on what we owe. And the mayor, being honest, said, we have no idea or no proof who owes what to whom. So my question is, I'm a pretty simple guy, but if you're going to move $449,000 in taxpayers' money, and there's no paper trail, and you honestly can't say for sure that we even need to move that to the general fund, the problem is they have a proposed budget. And just like anybody's household, they have more money going out than they have coming in. Now they're caught in a corner. And that corner is going to be your 30% raise in your water and sewer bill. Not only are they going to raise the usage, they're going to raise the base fee for you. My wife and I see...
You need to address the board, not the audience, please.
Well,
You're doing okay.
wait a minute. I'm talking to fellow taxpayers.
Excuse me, I'm not saying he can't speak. He needs to address the board. That is the way, that's what he is here to do, not the audience. Address the board, please. You know that. You've been on the board before. You know what the requirements are for a public hearing.
Sorry. Yeah. Wanted to interrupt the flow. So, my question is, why are we putting this on the back of the taxpayers? My wife and I, senior citizens, we pay about $177 water bill. Thank you. I'm cheap. You add 30% of that, that comes out to $53.11 or 12 cents every 3 months. You multiply that by 4, and you got 2 senior citizens paying over $200 for a budget deficit that they can't even prove, and that they've got themselves into a corner because they have proposed a budget that they can't pay for. They have spent more than is coming in. Simple as that. And it's going to be on our backs to bail them out.
I'm going to respond to that because I think it needs to be responded. There's been a lack of full disclosure here. Number one, February 15th, Kirk, 2011. Remember that night? That afternoon?
Now we're talking about the sewer plant?
Excuse me. Yes, we
Well,
are.
you asked me a question.
Yes, I am.
I have a right to respond to you. You asked me a question about February 2011, and I said the sewer plant?
That's correct.
Yes.
What do you remember about it?
Here we go with the throwing stones.
No, I'm not throwing stone. I just want to know if you recall what happened that day.
I voted for the sewer plant, Your Honor, and I voted for it, and trustee White, if I'm wrong, tell me that I'm wrong. 4 people on that board voted for it, and you either didn't vote for it or you were abstained. I can't remember.
I didn't vote for it.
You didn't vote for it? Okay. DEC, Mayor, you were there at the meeting.
Yes, I was.
Scott Tracy. DEC in the state was going to come in and take over.
Hey, I'm not arguing about the vote itself. You didn't let me finish.
Okay.
I just asked if you recall the day.
Well, I was there.
Yeah, I know you were. And the whole question that came up was, the whole purpose of that day was to listen to Brian Colvin from MRB Group, because he gave his presentation, and then to vote on a resolution authorizing $19.113 thousand. Million, excuse me, I apologize. You seconded the motion. I don't disagree with with what was going on. But what I want to know is, what was the plan to pay back at that point? Because that particular bond issue was looking at a 5.5% interest rate. Now, we knocked that down from $6 million and no interest, so I want to know, how were you going to pay for that then? That's all I want to know. What was the plan?
I was on the board for 2 years, Mayor, and we increased the water and sewer rate in just my 2 years.
I understand that.
Scott Tracy wanted to spend, if you remember, more money to research.
We're not going to talk.
No, wait.
I want to know what your plan was. I want to know what the plan was. That was the question I asked. What was your
The
plan?
whole vote was to get the locomotive out of the station, and you were there, and so
Yes.
wasn't Scott, because DEC and the state was going to come in and take over the project and take it out of local hands, and you know that.
I'm not arguing it.
Well,
What I'm asking is, I'm not arguing about...
that's what the vote was for.
Excuse me, just let me finish, would you? I am asking, no, the vote was for a bond of $19 million plus. looking at a 5.5% interest rate. Ours is at 13 million. People don't apparently want our rate. Well, what was the plan from your board, the board you were sitting on, to pay for that amount of money? That's all I'm asking. What was your plan? Because I think the owners, or the ratepayers of the village need to know that. Because
You've been
there
here
is a
for 5
plan.
years, Mayor. What has been your plan for the last 5 years?
Well, we reduced it for a considerable amount of money.
That was the plan for the first one to make.
The initial number wasn't what it was going to end up being.
Yeah, you're buying a
I
lot.
was at the meeting.
That was the number.
The initial number.
Hold it. I simply was asking Mr. Walker what the plan was. I'm not belittling the project because I agree with the project. The project we went forward with is the same plan, is the same plan minus the property. So what was the plan to pay it back? I think if there was a plan, then we need to know so we can reduce the rates that were set for that.
It doesn't have anything to do with your taking money out of the water and sewer 6, 7 years later. Again, you're throwing stones. Yes, you know, you never take responsibility for it. You're the captain of the ship. Let me ask you, because it was there, and he voted no, right? Okay. Was it for the sewer plant to go ahead of his plan?
Plus there was 1.25 million for the carpenter property. In addition
Right,
to the 19
to
million.
add on, to increase the sewer plant.
Right.
That's what the vote was for.
Well, why would you vote for something that amount of money without having an idea how you're going to spend it? Or how you're going to collect that money? Okay, we're going to move on.
Mayor, you're playing the show, man.
We're going to move on.
Talk about now.
I'd just like to say that we did vote for that. I turned it down. I told Ryan Colvin that we couldn't afford a $20 million project. And he said it was the best interest that we could get at that time. Since then, we've got 0% at $13 million, $50 million, I'm sorry.
I agree with everything you just said.
Mr. Ryder.
I'll make sure that I directly address the board. And while I'm going to address the board, if we are going to set down a hard set of rules for everyone out here to live with, everybody should live with them and stop asking more questions that are a little bit off on a tangent, Mr. Mayor. Part of what I wanted to say, I get Social Security. My Social Security didn't go up like this, and never will. And you have 20% of the population of Dansville lives under the median income levels of this county alone, let alone the state. You have got a lot of people on fixed income. By your own numbers, the sewer base rate alone is going to go up 38.5%. I want to know where you can come up with these kind of justifications. You got in trouble, but you didn't get in trouble overnight, and you're not going to fix this overnight. And a 38% increase in the base rate is ridiculous. It's going to raise the average 12,000 gallon usage, which is not a lot for a quarter, is going to raise somebody's water and sewer 25.5%. These are by your own numbers. I can't see the justification.
Thank you. Mr. Jameson.
Why don't respond?
I got a comment to make, and it may be a little bit radical, but I do think that the water and sewer should be a separate entity by itself, like other communities are. Separated from the village. Control its own finances, have its own set of board of directors, and run it like it should be run. Strictly keep that money where it belongs, in that account where it belongs, in a separate entity. And also I want to point out to you that we got leakage in this community. And here's an example of right here. Why aren't we doing something about that leakage? That 50% amount of leakage that's current in the community, why isn't it being looked for? Why aren't we digging up the damn roads to find out where those leaking pipes are and replace them? Enough about my comment.
Holly Canfield?
That's what you should do.
Hi, guys. How are you?
I'm lovely. How are you?
Oh, not good. I'm not good at all. This really upsets me. I'm a single mom. I have a daughter. Our water bill alone for her and I for 3 months runs $235 with water and sewer. I'm single. Okay, I don't have any help. Now you want to up it, and it's insane. My question to you too is, what is comparable to the other villages? We got Avon, we have Lima, we have Geneseo. What do they pay? Why are we so high? Why can't this be under one Livingston County? Let them take it over, like Monroe County, and they take care of the whole thing. They take care of the whole water, the sewer. And the rate on it is nowhere what we're paying.
Thank you.
I paid $300.
Robbie Waltman?
I'm a whole woman.
Yeah, we're talking about the water treatment plant, the new water rates, and also sewer. I want to know why we're spending all the money we are for all this new equipment in the village, and have equipment sitting at to my knowledge, for the last 8 months or better, sitting at the water treatment plant, no license plates on a pickup chassis, sitting there, not being used. I think where you've overspent is on equipment in this village alone. I'm not saying that some didn't need to be done, but you put ourselves in debt with that, in my opinion.
Amen.
For those who weren't at the information meeting 2 weeks ago, we explained where most of that money came from that bought the equipment. The majority of that equipment was bought out of general fund, not out of water and sewer funds. And that equipment's paid for, the vast majority of it.
It was bought out of sewer treatment and water bills. Our water
Some of them were. I'm just telling you, not all of that equipment came out of water and sewer. The majority did not. Okay, moving on, next person, Lynn Davis.
Okay.
Excuse me, let's give the lady an opportunity to speak.
I'm 60-some years old, and on a set income. And I can...
To help her there.
Okay. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. I'm 60-some years old, and I'm on a set income. And I'm having one heck of a time trying to make ends meet. And then all of a sudden you want to raise the water? What is going on in this town? I mean, come on. This is getting to be ridiculous. It's bad enough we're tightening our belts as it is. I mean, and a lot of us just found out that Medicaid suddenly gets sent with a copay that is out of this world, as it is. That we don't get it unless we hit it. Now come on, something's got to give around here. And Dansville better get off their butts and do something before the citizens of Dansville decide to run you guys out of office.
Robert Price.
Bill won't fix it, get out.
Let's get pizza.
Gentlemen, I have two questions that,
Excuse me, folks, just let him pay respect.
I have two questions. The first question, when we increased the sewer and the water treatments down into, when we increased the waters down into Woodsville and Cummingsville, it was supposedly going to increase the number of people that would be using our water and sewer system, which was going to increase the amount of money that was coming in to pay for that. And I do believe we had a raise right after they finished Woodsville, the water and sewer into Woodsville. They increased the rates, and supposedly that was to stop it. We did some things about reading the water bills, or the water meters. You know, you don't have to get out, you don't have to go to the house, you just drive down the street in a truck and you read the bill. So we should be saving money. If we're saving money, how come we got to spend money?
Good question.
And my other question is, we have a few families living here in Dansville that are, they live 6 months in Florida and 6 months here in Dansville. They'll have the water shut off at the curb. They're still responsible for the maintenance fees for the water when they have it shut off at the curb. The responsibility for the town on the water and sewer is from where the sewer goes into the main line, and I believe the same with the water, is from the shut off. But the homeowners are responsible for the maintenance from the house to that line. So how come we're getting such an increase on the monies? And that's my question. Thank you.
Sheila Freeze.
I'll pass.
Okay. I think this is Pat Ford.
Gentlemen, you quoted earlier in your presentation your own auditor's report that said it was not likely that in the near future the Water and Sewer Department would have profits sufficient to accumulate money to be able to pay back money that had been loaned from the general fund. And yet we've just heard how a couple of weeks ago they had accumulated $500,000, which you then transferred to the general fund. I'd like to know where that money came from, whether that was actually profit or whether it was actually bond money that you've perhaps misappropriated. If it is from the bonds, are we likely to have a very difficult audit facing us after this is over? And I guess my big question would be, you talk about how this is all coming from the past. You're blaming it on all of your predecessors, and yet it seems to me that it's you that are all shoving it under the rug. You're not wanting to take responsibility for how it's handled now. You're saying the only thing that we can do now, because we don't have the information, is tax the people. Well, according to what you've just said about the $15 million that was bonded for the water treatment plant, that cost each of the 4,630 people in Dansville $3,240 apiece, every man, woman, and child. How did anybody, and how do you think that that's going to get paid for? Not me. I didn't think you'd like what I had to say, but I didn't expect to be treated like that. So I don't see that this water rate and sewer rate increase is going to come anywhere near $3,240 per person, which is due in the bond payback. So I think the right thing to do would be for the five of you to stand up in this meeting and all resign. And that you should call a special election and see if you can get yourselves reelected.
I'd be happy for you.
Thank you. Please. Next person is Peter Cartella.
Good job, young lady. Good job.
Hi. I think you need to do something to solve this problem other than putting an unfair burden on the taxpayers and the citizens of the village. And I've got a couple friends that I spoke to this afternoon, just for comparison's sake. In the village of Wayland, I spoke to a friend. They used 12,600 gallons in the quarter. Their total bill was less than $110. Wow. They paid $35 for water and $74 for sewer. I've also got a friend in North Hornell, and they've got up to a 20,000 gallon limit per quarter. They paid $30 for sewer, $108 for water. It's a lot lower than what we're paying now without this increase. So I think you really should work to try to solve this without putting a burden on the taxpayers.
Amen.
Thank you. Mr. Comer.
My question is simple. My question is simple. If all the delinquent water accounts were paid in full, and you could not penalize them 40%, do you still need an increase in your water and sewer rates?
Thank you. I believe it's either May or Mary Humphrey.
Hi, I'm Mary Humphrey. And thank you for your service, board. I'm not talking to anybody else. I've never done any public speaking. Just moved into town December 1st. Received my first water bill January 12th. It was $155. Lived here 1 month. Called to make sure it was not a mistake and not the last people's bill. Was told, no, not the last people's, you have leaks. Since I've been here, 6 months, I paid $595.11. 2 people on retirement. Welcome to Dansville. This is the 4th house I've owned. One place I didn't have to pay water because it's well water. Lived in the area, decided Dansville was the place I wanted to live, owned a house, 15 years. Decided this is where I wanted to stay, pay taxes, help all the business owners out. Water is unreal. I lived in Brighton. I mean, come on, Brighton. $82. $82. Sewer and water. I left my water on all the time. I'm a gardener. Watering all the while. Really, guys, I didn't know about the past thing and what y'all voted for before, but to raise it again now, you do, I'm moving. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Julianne. Ma'am? My apologies.
I really thought it was because you didn't want to hear what I got to say.
Speak into the mic.
It's a fact of life. If you spend more money than you have coming in, you have to work harder or maybe take a second job. Failing that, you have to cut your expenses back to the bare essentials. You cannot just ask someone else to pay for your spending. That is what is happening here. The residents of the village of Dansville have a median income of $38,288. That is more than $15,000 less than the median income of Livingston County as a whole. 20% of Dansville residents live in poverty. Census data. But all of these people have to pay for water and sewer, either directly or through their rent. And Dansville's water and sewer costs are high already before this proposed increase that has already been added into the 2015 budget. If we take the approach that you can't force people to pay more than they can afford, then expenses have to be cut. How can that be done? A first step in the process would be to have a professional accountant take an in-depth investigative look at the fund balances and determine what those numbers really should be, because there's an awful lot of speculation, and if you're relying on bookkeeper numbers and you yourself said the records weren't well kept, then you don't truly know. A second step should be a very focused look at the accounting used to allocate the water and sewer expenditures. Are we very positive that the equipment costs are properly allocated? How about the payroll costs and the employee benefits that calculate out to 36% of the payroll costs? Are these numbers backed by true, actual records, or are other areas shifting some of their costs to water and sewer? Paul Bringwatt and Associates budget projections raise still more questions of consistency in budgeting and expense allocations. And what I mean by that is just going through the handout that you provided, looking at the huge variances from year to year in various lines. These are areas that need to be looked at very seriously before it is assumed that the rates must go up. And any optional expenditures must be eliminated if we cannot afford those expenses based on our current rates. It's easy to look at debt service and say, oh, that's it. But that isn't just it. It's every expense that's coded to water and sewer in your accounting system. Everything needs to be looked at carefully to be sure what fund the expenses actually belong to. Finally, who is the merchant and who is the customer here? Granted, we are customers with no other shopping options, but aren't we, the taxpayers, the users of the water and sewer, still the customers? Is it right that people are treated with so little respect because they are unfortunate enough to have water and sewer bills that exceed their ability to pay? Or should they be offered the option of paying a reasonable rate based on investigated and verified costs, that eliminate all but the most essential ones, in a manner that respects each person, regardless of their household income.
Thank you. Excuse me, ma'am, your name's Leanne Ryder? Yes. Thank you very much for that. That was very well put together. Thank you. Ron Hall.
Hi, I'm Ron Hall, water well contractor, and somewhat of an expert on water, possibly. But I think what they have, I kind of come in on the tail end of this discussion, but what I haven't heard anybody talk about is years ago, we weren't able to use the wells over in Perkinsville, which, because of, does anybody remember that whole? I do. So anyway, years ago, there's a rule, if you take water out of a well, a municipality like Dansville, you don't have to have a filtration plant. So the people in Perkinsville, even though they probably shop in our stores and use our streets and everything, didn't want us to take their water. And, well, they test pumped the wells, and people that had lousy wells to begin with said, oh, you're pumping my well dry, which probably wasn't the case, maybe, but there probably could have been some things done by our current mayor, not our current mayor, secretary, but our past mayor, who was the mayor at the time, to try to work out a workable situation with Perkinsville. But they put up such a fit that we eventually had to not use those wells. I mean, we're not using those wells, right?
Backup. We use them for backup.
Okay. But we still had to spend millions of dollars, I think at the time $7 million, for that filtration plant because our good friends in Perkinsville would not let us use those wells. And that's where the whole thing started. And it's none of these people's problems. And that was $7 million right out of the box to fix. Well, what I'm going to tell you is, and I could pass out cards and, drill a well, but if you came to me to say you wanted to drill a well in Dansville, I'd say you're better off with town water. And I'll tell you, you follow me around for a week in my business and you'll say, man, Dansville's got great water. I mean, we drill wells and, your shower, your dishwasher, it'll all look just like that. And that's the reality. You can purify it. You can, the average well is probably anywhere from 5,000 to 7,000 by the time you drill it and put the pump in. And then you may have, in some areas, you got good water. In other areas, you got to purify it. And it's just the meter's going all the time, just like the water meter. I live up on Austin Street, up in back of King's daughter's home. Austin, Texas. And I ran 827 feet of water line. I could have drilled a well probably for myself, probably $500, but I spent a lot more than that to run 827 feet to connect to town water. And I do it again tomorrow, even though I could drill myself a well. We have great water. The hardness is 11 maybe, and it leaves a little residue once in a while, but Dansville has great water. And if we looked at this, if you're sitting at the Rod and Gun Club or the Elks, do we have an Elks Club? Lions Club.
They left Dansville.
Moose. In the Moose Club, and they say, well, we're going to have to raise the dues $100. People would complain about it a little bit, but you know, you'd reach in your pocket and pay it. I mean, we're a community here. I mean, that's what's happened to our country. Everybody's, you know, complaining about the government. And I don't know who the hell wants this job. I mean, you know, these guys, I mean, numbers are numbers. You know, there's probably been mistakes made but these guys they gotta work with what they got. You know, I admit, water bills are high in Dansville. They are high. But if you look at the alternative, it's not a lot better. I mean, we're lucky in Dansville to have good water. I mean, we wash our cars, we water the lawn. You go out west to California and Arizona, or like the Colorado River is gone and never even reaches the Gulf of Mexico. It's gone. But, I mean, we're just...
Okay, folks, let's settle down here and let me finish up, please.
I mean, we're a community here. We ought to be working together. I don't like paying a high water bill, but I trust these people to work with the figures that they got. I mean, they haven't inherited a real great situation, and like I say, it started with $7 million. But anyway, you follow me around for a week, you'll be glad you got Dansville water. And again, you come and ask me to drill a well for you in Dansville, I'll say stay hooked up. You're way better off. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What happened to that?
Hey, Mr. Wilson? Dan or Don?
Hi, I'm Dan Wilson, and I'd just like to say a few things here. I agree that I think things should be prorated here. I'm in a low-income bracket. A couple years ago, I was injured on the job and had surgery, and I knew it was going to be a problem just because I was on workers' comp and I've lost a lot of my income, and it came to the point, I have 3 wonderful kids at home and a wife. My water got shut off. I was running behind, and it's been very hard in a low-income bracket. And I'm also kind of disappointed last year when I read in the Evening Tribune, I don't know which one of you guys actually talked to them about the article, and there was nothing about public view. It was all about how we weren't paying our water bills. And I mean, there's reasons for that. Just like a lot of people have stated, you know, look at other towns. Look what other villages are paying. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Mr. Putner.
Hi, my name's Mr. Trouble. In the 90s, our mayor decided that he's going to go to Perkinsville, because this was brought up, to take and test the wells. We borrowed $2 million to test the wells. Now, according to a letter from the DEC to the superintendent of Wayland, all the waters was pumped to our reservoir, and half of that water flows to waste. Well, isn't that wonderful? Plus, $1.2 million was not used in that project. And that went to the general fund. So consequently, what we have is we have a secret that figures never lie. Now, a man was here and talking about the snowbirds. The snowbirds go to Florida. and they have to still pay. If I got that right from that guy, they still have to pay for water and sewer? Well, that's a lie. Back in 2009, the village was having town meetings where Keith Petty told the people, that's the way it is, folks. But yet Don Seiler, a trustee, says that's wrong. Because in 2000, they passed a law in the village of Dansville that our monies would not be taken. It's called an abatement for water and sewer. Your monies should have never been taken from 2000 till now. But our water and sewer department refused to take and honor that. Myself, I paid for several buildings that had no residents, no businesses in them, from 2000 to 2009. Where did that money go?
Thank you, Bill. That's the last of our speakers this evening. As I mentioned earlier, the board decided next Tuesday we will hold a special meeting to discuss and vote on what rates we're going to set for water and sewer. It's at 6 o'clock in this room right here. Tuesday. At this time, do any of the board members have any comments they want to make? Robin, go ahead.
First of all, I appreciate everyone coming tonight. I appreciate everyone's opinions. Some of the things I do take exception to is the comments about having a re-election and et cetera, et cetera. Two board members, we done? Two board members are new. We've been here 3 months. And I'm not throwing any of the other board members under the bus. I got on board here to help. It's that two heads are better than one philosophy. And for the assumptions that somebody has made, or that some of you have made, that there's wrongdoing and whatever words you want to use, here's a budget. Anybody's willing to come and look at it, just like I did when I got on board. Nobody comes to the board meetings. There's special meetings, you know, and when we had the election, Democrats had no one, Republicans had no one, and two board members stepped up to the plate. So I guess you get what you get, I guess, but the fact of the matter is, the board works hard. We all live here too. I pay a water bill. It's about $170 a month. Or a quarter. Thank you. It's hard on everybody. It's just me also. I absolutely, I do. You know what? When you talk about fixed income, and you know what your rates are going to be, you know what your bills are going to be, so you don't spend outside of it. I'm not going to go back and forth with you. That's, you know, it was up to the board. The mayor opened it up for the board to address some of the comments. And I appreciate the comments, and I have thick skin, but some of the things that, like I say, I took exception to was the things that I just mentioned. And we all pay taxes. We all live here. It's rough for everyone. We have not yet made that decision. I haven't still made my decision. But I'm going to have to make my mind up by next Tuesday. And it's going to be one that I think is going to be right. Some folks probably aren't going to like it either way. And that's the way it is. And if you feel that, you know, there's not room for any of us, when the election comes, come on out. And I also want to remind everybody that the election, when the election took place, there was less than 500 people that came out to vote, or well, right around 500 people that voted. 500 people came to the voting booth. That's pretty sad. That's my knowledge. Folks just need to get more involved. Get the facts.
Trustee Rittenhouse?
For anyone that doesn't know, I am Dan Rittenhouse, and I, along with Robin, was the other newly elected trustee this year. I do want to reiterate a few things that Robin said. I didn't sign up for this to be part of the problem. I want to be part of the solution. I listened to everything that everyone said here tonight, good, bad, or indifferent. I'll weigh all that. I'm willing to go in with the rest of the board and sit down and look at our budget, see what's in there that doesn't need to be in there, if there is fat, and trim any fat that there is. The budget that we approved this year, myself and Robin were on board for just a matter of a couple of weeks when it was voted on. And I'm not saying there is fat in there, but I'm willing to sit down with the rest of the board and see what there is and trim what we can. And if we don't need to make a increase, I don't want an increase, because as the rest of the board, my bill usually runs right around $275, and I choke every time it comes in. And I pay it, and I grumble, and my wife always laughs at me as I grumble about the water and sewer bill. And I don't like it any more than anyone else here. And I don't want to pay one nickel more than I have to, because I feel that we're all on a fixed income, because we can't walk into our bosses that we're at work and say, I need more money to pay for a water bill. Our incomes, no matter whether you're working or not, they're all fixed. No one can walk in and say, I just need more money. So I'm willing to sit down with this board and go through our budget for the water and sewer and go line by line to see what is a necessary expenditure and what's not. And again, as Trustee Humphrey said, the vote has not been made yet. And I really am happy with the people who came in and talked and gave us their view. And, even the hecklers that heckle, hey, everyone has a view. Everyone has an opinion, and we want to hear them all, and that's what we signed up for. So I'm willing to go the distance to try to figure out how to move forward with not any increase or whatever minimal there would be. And I'm always open to answer any questions I can. I've been on our Facebook page trying to answer what I can, and I'm always here to try to answer whatever, because that's what I signed up for. And any questions, I'll be more than happy to wait afterwards and try to take any information in that you can and try to be a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Trustee Labar?
We put a lot of time, effort, energy into every aspect, every responsibility we have as your board. And we are your board. We are here to serve you. We're trying to make the best decisions in the interest of this community, and we do understand and appreciate the impact of any increase upon the community as a whole. We're trying to work to grow this community, and certainly this is not conducive, as you look at it at face value, in growing the community. We recognize that. But we're working through it. I appreciate the fact that you were candid tonight. We're going to consider everything that's been said, and we're going to act again in the best interest of this community. Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess I'm Dick Whiteneck, and I guess I'm probably the old man on the board. I've been here for 6 years. I've seen 3 increases on this water and sewer rates. Two of them increases were never put into the water and sewer. They went into the general fund. And and the last increase was recommended by our engineer, and we reluctantly increased it. We didn't set it at what he suggested. If we had have set it at what he suggested at the time, we wouldn't be here tonight. You know, I'm like I say, I'm the old man, and you know, I'm doing the fixed income too. You know, I appreciate the fact that I have good water and the source. You know, there's nothing any worse than to step back to flush your toilet and it doesn't work. You know, I think we're pretty fortunate what we've got, and I think I know I'm going to have to tighten my belt, you know, and we're going to work through it. So, thanks a lot for being here.
Again, on behalf of the board, I appreciate you coming out this evening, being candid with us. Again, the meeting, special meeting on our discussions, and some of the answers to the questions you asked this evening will be next Tuesday night, 6 p.m. in this room here. Thank you very much, and you have a good evening.